turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher.
What's going on, everyone? I'm Mike.
I'm Phoenix.
We are the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially back in session. And we are here for another episode with our good friend Phoenix, our co-host. And welcome back for round 2 of 2021, man. It's we had a great episode last time. Talked a little Jasmine Sullivan and MF Doom and what we were anticipating to come out for 2021. And now we have some music to talk about today. So this is going to be dedicated to this episode. It's just going to be 12 songs. Well, it's going to be 6 songs in this episode, and then there's going to be a part 2 to this episode as well that's coming out later this week. So this week we're going to talk about 12 singles, new singles. We got our new singles recap, and we haven't really talked a lot of like music really in a while. Besides Jasmine Sullivan, but
we're getting to our roots. You know what I mean? We're gonna analyze music the way we should be. This is what this is about, baby.
Exactly. So Phoenix has picked 3 songs for today. I have also picked 3 songs. We're going to just go rapid fire one at a time, back and forth with the songs that we selected. So we had a person listen to the songs that we chose. We don't know how the other person feels about them yet, which is, again, the whole fun of this. We'll do 6 songs in this episode, and then the next episode, which will drop on this upcoming Wednesday, will also be out with 6 more songs. So without further ado, we'll waste no more time. We have new singles recap, the first one of 2021. And Phoenix, you are up first. So which song are we going to review to kick this one off?
Got you. So I don't know if anybody's heard, but the whole Judas and the Messiah soundtrack came out, and it was fire, and it was stockpiled with a bunch of different kinds of artists, with a bunch of different kinds of sounds, which is sick. I've yet to watch the movie.
I was literally about to say the same thing. I haven't watched the movie yet, and I really want to see it so badly because I really love I'm a huge Lakeith Stanfield fan, and Daniel Kaluuya, they're awesome. So
yeah, and I've been hearing a lot of good things about it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But the soundtrack was definitely ambitious. It's really long, and there's a whole bunch of different artists. But there's one artist in particular that just stands out, you know, and he does this.
Let's say 2.
It's 2 artists. It's 2 artists. 1000%. It's 2 artists. The track I'm talking about is What It Feels Like, Nipsey Hussle featuring Jay-Z, Hove, The GOAT, Bye. Do goats make ba, or is that sheep? I don't know.
Those are sheep. Sheep do the ba thing, but I also think goats do too. So I'm not sure.
All right,
but
I digress.
Either way.
But it's obviously R.I.P. Nipsey Hussle. So it's amazing hearing his voice again and on another cut and it seems like it seems like Jay-Z and Roc Nation has been involved with also handling some of Nipsey Hussle's releases. And regardless, whoever is handling it, his camp's doing a good job because a lot of these songs sound polished, finished, clean. Like even the thing he had on the posthumous record on the DJ Khaled album, that was really clean. And I hate posthumous songs and albums from artists that sound clearly unfinished and probably wouldn't get the green light. This one wasn't the case though. I heard on the Twitter streets this song was also made years ago.
So I actually did a little research as well and found out that this Nipsey Hussle verse is from 2013 actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the fact that it aged this well is a testament to how great of a rapper he is.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I think about it, maybe what Jay-Z did on this record was downright criminal because he stole the show. In my eyes, he stole the show with that verse. And so that's what I got on. That's what I put on Mike's plate for this first one. And for this whole week, I was just thinking I've had his verse in my head, just stuck back and forth. Scorpion bricks before Aubrey's double disc 40 on my lap clap. Sound like 40 did the mix. I've been saying that line over and over again. So, Mr. Scarfo, how do you feel about What It Feels Like, Nipsey Hussle featuring Jay-Z?
What do I feel like, Phoenix?
I didn't even know.
I'm already Yeah. I'm already throwing the puns out early on in this
Bars.
episode, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. So I hate to say that this is gonna go all downhill from here because it won't, but this is easily my favorite song that you suggested. Definitely, this is my favorite from part one or part two of our episodes this week for sure. I think the mix, just to go like the sonic appeal of this quick, I think the mix is incredible. I loved the album as well, by the way, or the soundtrack, I should say. And I thought this was the most ambitious instrumental and just most put together, like well put together instrumental. Maybe not even that. Maybe it's just the most memorable to me, but I really loved the pianos and the hi-hats and the horns. Like that blend was just amazing. And then there's that really cool like low toned like background vocal sample that's like played throughout that's really great. As you mentioned, Nipsey Hussle's bars are energetic, they're raw, and I just like you said, it's just an absolute testament to him as an artist to be able to still be like giving us a verse from 2013 that's still very relatable to in a 2021 climate. Really speaks, I think, to
Resonates still. It's like...
Exactly. I think that speaks to a lot of things. I think that speaks to the fact that our society still is in a place that it hasn't really progressed as much as we would like it to. I mean, we have made progress in some areas, but there's definitely areas we need to continue to progress. I think that's part of the movie. Like, I definitely am really excited to watch the movie, and I know we have another single later on in one of our lists that we're gonna talk about even more. So this will definitely come up again. But so
there was a couple tracks off that soundtrack that I could have recommended, and I had to restrain myself, honestly.
Yeah. I think 2 is enough, even though I should say, the soundtrack it's versatile. There's a lot of different artists on it. It's not like it's just like the same couple artists, So I know there's an A$AP Rocky song on there I really enjoyed. To just name a few.
G Herbo song on there that's fire.
G Herbo's was really good, absolutely. But this was my favorite for sure from the soundtrack. And
same.
Even though the hook's a bit basic, I think the verses are so dense that it doesn't a really like complex hook wasn't super necessary here. And I loved like the cool table scratches. I think that even gave it like a cool like old school vibe. It's definitely like the most cinematic song from this soundtrack. But here's the thing about Jay-Z, bro.
I can actually
go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Pause. Go ahead.
No, I can't wait. I'm upset that I'm interrupting you now because I want to hear what the thing about Jay is.
Yeah.
I think just to your point about the sound and kind of that minimalistic hook, but the cinematic instrumental and the bars kind of really being the meat and potatoes of it all. It's not just the melodies and the beat. It's not the melody and the chorus, but it's really the bars and then that that minimalist hook. It's very Nipsey, and even the cinematic instrumental is very Nipsey. Like, and I don't know,
right?
For people who aren't super familiar with his sounds, like if you hear that instrumental, besides the fact that like it's just the mixing sounds like the production level sky high, obviously, and it has Jay-Z on it, so I'm sure money was not an issue in terms of quality for this record. But like the beat sounds like something Nipsey would hop on, and even the way it's broken down, like just to your point of the hook, it's like very Nipsey Hussle too, and I feel like it's very West Coast. It's like a lot of those big bars, like that are like standout, and he also gives himself a lot of space in his delivery for the bars. But like the minimalist hook part, that's like, it felt very classic West Coast to me because I feel like that's part of their style. You know what I mean?
No, totally valid point.
Please continue. Let it rip, brother.
So here's my thing with Jay-Z, all right? And I have been hot and cold with his music since the start. There's some albums that he's come out with that I think are just bona fide, absolute classic, like can't even deny how good they are. And then sometimes it's not that it's bad music. He's never, I don't think, puts out bad music, but it kind of falls a little bit short for me at times. And that's happened, I think, a lot more in the last few years rather than like a historic thing. Like, for example, like I wasn't super crazy about the Jay Electronica record, and I just thought like he was just kind of blah on that. Like, not it was bad, it was just kind of very plain Jane really? For me. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm overseeing, or maybe I didn't like dig enough deeper into it. Granted, I did review the album and at the time, and I haven't heard it again or really come back to it in a year. So maybe
don't second guess yourself. Stand
might feel
your
differently.
Ground. Stand your ground.
Yeah.
You hate Jay-Z.
No. They get a little more to do with Jay Electronica, but I didn't think Jay-Z helped it that much. Having said that, though, there are sometimes I feel like Jay-Z just when he wants to rap, I feel like he does. Like, for example, this is the prime example when he was featured on What's Free with Meek Mill and Rick Ross, that track. That verse, I mean, first of all, let's not even front like Meek didn't absolutely snap. And I feel like it's the same situation here where Nipsey had an amazing verse similar to Meek's, and then Jay-Z just completely steals the show, and it's like, oh, well, Meek's like best verse of all time. It's just like completely an afterthought. Overshined by Jay. And that is exactly how I felt here. This verse from Jay-Z is ridiculous. Kiss to my wrist, I go dummy with my lap. Let these crackers storm the Capitol. One day I'm gonna have to pay for these thoughts. There's all, and then this part.
Oh my God.
This part it blew my mind. You burnt your bridge to the other side. You know you can't swim across. Y'all know you can't swim. They fried Mike after he died. Y'all know we can't win. You never land. All jokes aside, I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is incredible. Like, ridiculous. The lyricism here, the metaphors, the play on words, the deep, like, just very socially conscious lyricism. Bro, Jay-Z.
It's like, and it's socially conscious mixed with like the other rapid, the braggadocious rap style.
Exactly. And he did the same shit on What's Free, and I loved that song. It was one of my favorite songs from that year.
That verse is dirty. I have you reminded me of, like, I'm hearing it now in my head, and it's like, yeah, he killed that. Ha 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 ha. Like, he did all of that. Like
the Michael Jackson line on that one, just bro. When Jay-Z comes ready to, like, I don't know, I feel like there's times he maybe just goes through the motions, but I think he kind of can at this point because of where he's at, you know what I mean? And it's not a knock on him at all. I just think he has nothing left to prove. But I think if he's passionate about something, like he clearly was for this movie soundtrack, Judas and the Black Messiah, you can tell he put everything into this verse. Writing, the flows, just just everything about it to me. Like you even said, just the beautiful mix and just the way that it's kind of just constructed, you could tell he went all in on it. And when he goes all in, he literally is still GOAT status, like GOAT tier. Like when you're talking like some of the greatest of all time, it's undeniable at this point that Jay-Z's in that category. You know what I mean? Even if certain albums haven't exactly resonated with me fully, like there's projects he's put out that I absolutely just can't get enough of, and certain songs that I love so much. I mean, I just remember how much I, like, even to this day, loved like the Black Album, for an example. I mean, even Reasonable Doubt is easily one of the best hip hop albums of all time, in my opinion.
There you go, Mike. Yes, you're getting great opinions right here. And I got my little Jay-Z vinyl. You know
that's right. Oh, that's right. And you got the Blueprint right there. So, like, again, another great project. But yeah, some things fell flat. Like the Blueprint 3 wasn't like a favorite of mine. Like I thought that fell a little bit flat. Like
definitely.
He's had misses.
And I think those pockets where he falls flat have been kind of obvious. And like, if we're gonna go off cuff for me, like, Blueprint 3 was like poppy, mainstream reaching kind of, but like Empire State of Mind, it's funny. Like that's an undeniable hit. You know what I mean?
Oh, no. I'm not saying for a second, like when he's had albums that he hasn't had good hits on those albums, right? And I think we're when we're talking Jay-Z, I think we are holding him to the standard of the GOAT status, right? So it's like his worst could be somebody else's best. You know what I'm saying? So this
for sure.
It's not a knock on Jay whatsoever. So Jay-Z, if you're listening to this, like don't sue us. I love you and I love this song. Like my dude, this has to be one of my favorite songs of the year so far. I know it's really early, but there's no question that this is gonna be in the mix for like my end of the year. You know what I mean? Like it'll be there, put it that way. Like
those opening bars, even, dude, the opening bars to like, to have the little wordplay, like I think at this point it's really not it's not a sub. I don't think it's a diss towards Drizzy or nothing. But like just to to have the courage, like it's only somebody like Jay that could have an opening bar about Drake and it doesn't turn into Drake, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because this is obviously not a guy he's not punching up when he's punching at Drake. You know what I mean? Like really anybody he's referencing is the punch down for him.
Right.
But like just even the flow of that, bro. Scorpion bricks before Aubrey's doubled. That's poetry to me. 40 on my lap, clap, like
yeah. Like you would have thought 40 produced it. Like I couldn't believe it. Like Jay-Z came back with a ferocity in his tone when he spit these bars that you can just clearly they're so audible, you know what I mean? So overall, I love this track. It's definitely like, I think we started on a high note, but out of the 12 songs we're going to talk about over the course of these 2 episodes, this is easily a highlight for me.
That's good to hear, dude. That's good to hear. I needed to hear that.
Starting off strong. I think we're going to disagree on some other things down the line, but the song that I want to go to next, or one of my first selections, is 2 artists that, one's on my wall right now. We got Mr. Denzel Curry and Jid, who are 2 of my favorite artists right now, certainly in hip hop. And they just released Bruuuh, which was one of Jid's leftover songs from the Never Story in 2017, and this is now the remix. It's now released as a legitimate song on streaming platforms and all that. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Bruuuh by Jid and Denzel Curry. What you think? Because I've been on you to listen to this for a while now. Even before we agreed to do this before we had like fleshed out this episode, I was like, yo, have you heard the new Jid and Denzel?
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Mike hit me snapping, being like, you gotta listen to this new Jid and Denzel. And I slept on it for too long because it's definitely a fire track. I'll say this. All right, so I'm a big Jid fan, JID, however you want to go about it. You know what I mean? Okay, you know what? Let me go back one more time. Let me rewind, because I'll say I'm a casual fan of Jid. You know what I mean? Like, okay. I think he's a really good rapper, and I really liked a couple of his projects, especially the DiCaprio ones. Right? There's DiCaprio too. Those are hard, and but there's something about him that feels a little forgettable for me, and I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know exactly what about him that does that, but the more and more I've paid attention to his lyricism, the more and more I find it, just increasing in quality. Like, you know what I mean? It's he's definitely gotten way better and just more interesting in terms of like the content that the lyrics are talking about. You know what I mean? Because I feel like when he kind of first came out, but so I have this running joke with my friends who are really big fans of Cole and Dreamville, and I personally stand at more of a Kendrick side, even though I love them both. I'm a huge fan of both Kendrick and Cole, but I'm more of a fan of Kendrick's catalog and what TDE has, and I think they're more of a stacked label personally. So when Jid kind of first had his first couple of breakout songs, and then the big feature with Cole and like the Lyrical Lemonade video, I used to make fun of him, just be like, this is Dreamville's discount Kendrick, you know what I mean? And I think for a while as a fan, that kind of perception of him stuck with me for too long, more than he deserved. But I can't help but hear it every time I hear him. I don't know why, but as he's gotten better, I think he's been able to make more space for himself and have more of a distinct kind of character and sound to him. But I guess those are the reasons why I'm not so heavy on Jid. Maybe at least not as much as you'd probably think I'd be, because I'm definitely a fan of the lyrics, bro. You know what I mean? I love lyricists and hip hop, and he's really about that. So I liked Bruuuh a lot. This song was good. But speaking of features where somebody got outshined, I think Denzel went stupid on this. Denzel went crazy on this. And I guess it's fitting because it's the remix. Like maybe, Jid's kind of just giving the alley-oop. But Denzel has went crazy on this, and all of the lines are just like ridiculous. Bro. They're all punchlines, and they're almost all noteworthy. But some of them where he was mentioning Sun Tzu, he was saying stuff like, you can't see if you get demolished, break it all down and leave it repolished. Like, his wordplay was ridiculous on this track.
My favorite part when he says, the flames exhale, my pain's on braille, you feel it, similar to a fish in a skillet, hook and a line intertwined when I reel it like films. And then he gets into like all the films, like movie, groovy, jinky, Scooby, very spooky, soul as black as moolies, talk like Pooh, I spit fire loogies, like coming off the kufi with no blues, no fire Tukey. I was like, first of all, I don't know how he was able to rap all that. That sounds like the worst tongue twister of all time. So much worse than
It was
Sally
lyrical
with the seashells.
exercise, dude. Lyrical exercise.
And that is Jid and Denzel in the flesh. I think they are. This was a flow case of all things. You know what I mean? But discount Kendrick Lamar. I am going to be laughing about that. How disrespectful that is. Although there could be worse things to be called than discount Kendrick Lamar.
Definitely.
But, and I will say this, when he did pop on the scene, I think a lot of people felt that way. Like he sounded a lot like Kendrick, maybe even a little bit too much. And that's why I liked DiCaprio too.
Right?
So much.
I'm not crazy, right?
No. You're not crazy. Just the way you put it was hysterical. So I'm just laughing. But as he furthered his sound and furthered like himself as an artist, specifically on an album like DiCaprio 2, I thoroughly enjoyed that much more. Even than the Never Story, because again, I thought he got a little bit more versatile with his sound and his stuff. But yeah, man, in terms of like the lyricism on this, Denzel I think outshines Jid like on the more like lines that like will stick in your head and like.
It was punchlines for days. Denzel Zeltron really came out. It was punchlines for days. He was snapping.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is, I think, out of the songs we're going to talk about, this is like the banger of the bunch. You know what I mean? Like out of everything that we have here, this is like that hard-hitting track. I think the energy and the grittiness is just completely flawless.
I don't know. Until we get around to Pooh Shiesty, I'm like, I don't know.
Well, Pooh Shiesty's next, so I'll let you spit it. But the last thing I do want to say about this song is just how dark and menacing that the production is. I think it's perfect for both of these guys, like in the way that they rhyme and just kind of if you look at their catalog, I think this is a beat that was just perfect for both of them.
Definitely.
So I love this song. I think it's one of my favorite just kind of like banger type tracks that I've heard so far in 2021.
Denzel wrapped it up nice too. Like one of his last punchlines was, like me and JID, Scorpion and Sub-Zero. You know what I mean? I thought that was sick imagery because it went along with the production, definitely. And that's a good segue to what I wanted to kind of actually, give props to JID for. Is I thought the chorus was really dope. The chorus was sick. The little like effects and dubs coming in and out. Like that was Kendricky. But sick. I thought it was dope and it was catchy. But like it played along. You know what I mean? You mentioned the chorus was menacing, and then even the vocal production was just kind of fell in line with that. And I thought it complemented Denzel's verse perfectly, and vice versa, right? Denzel's verse complemented the feel of that song perfectly, and I think Denzel went stupid on that. And it was funny that this song was one of our songs because actually just recently I had been watching a lot of old, like, Kenny Beats the Cave. Mm-hmm. I had been watching a lot of the old episodes where Denzel's on it, and it's like you forget how much this guy can snap, bro. And actually, one last thing I want to say about his style and his verse on that, Denzel is like, he really, like, I think maybe doesn't get enough credit as like kind of in terms of his delivery and his voice. I think he kind of committed to it more in his earlier career, and he's been going more hip hop, but he has like a rock kind of delivery, real rock star screamo, like not screamo, but in terms of energy, like almost like a rap metal kind of voice. You know what I mean?
Have you seen his Bulls on Parade Rage Against the Machine cover? Zach De La Rocha. Oh my God, I'm sending it to you after this. It is exactly what you're saying. Like so it's crazy because I have a friend of mine who came on the podcast like a long time ago and wrote for us and stuff like that. Eric Kanan, shout out him. He's got a teaching and coaching podcast if anyone's interested in that. But in terms of his sound, like he loves metal, and specifically like is a big fan of Rage. And I saw the Rage Against the Machine cover that Denzel did and sent it to him right away. And he was like, okay, first of all, who is Denzel Curry? Second of all, this is the best Zach De La Rocha cover I have ever seen in my life. And to the point where he came with me to Denzel's show at Boston Calling. And we were both awesome. We were both mosh pitting like crazy. It was a wild show, first of all. He's one of the best performers I've ever seen live personally.
So much energy.
so much, yeah, and just so he totally has that rock star edge to him that a lot of people, like artists in hip hop, just can't tap into.
Yeah,
So,
and I think like honestly, like I think, you know, like the rock influence in hip hop and vice versa, hip hop influence in rock, I think has been there for a long time. You know, even back for like Run DMC and Aerosmith kind of thing, right? And I think as time's gone on, rappers specifically, like have kind of drifted away from the sound and incorporating the rock sounds, like the guitars and the drums, but are still totally down to, you know, kind of endorse the image of being a rock star. And I think vocally there's tons of rappers now, and I think even Trippie Redd and Juice WRLD, you know, those kind of guys obviously are good examples of punk rock and rock bleeding into the delivery of rappers. But with Denzel, it's not a gimmicky kind of melody thing. You know what I mean? It's like pure energy and vocal delivery that's like, whoa, this could just be on a rock record. You know what I mean? It could be on a rock record that's like hip hop influenced, where I think there's a lot of hip hop now that's like clearly hip hop rap, and then it's fun when they throw in the little rock influences to kind of spice it up. But Denzel, dude, he needs to be ahead of a band at some point. Like, honestly,
I agree, and I think that maybe would even be a lane he would be okay with going down. I feel like, you know what I mean, because I just think he has so much more to offer than people understand and realize. So well, I'm glad you enjoyed that one. And huge shout out to both those guys, two of my personal favorites. But Pooh Shiesty, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Pooh Shiesty.
We're on to the next one, going right down the list. I gave Mike a Pooh Shiesty record. And for people who aren't familiar with Pooh Shiesty, he's this Memphis rapper who's getting a lot of buzz right now because he has this song that's kind of a smash right now called Back in Blood with Lil Durk feature. And Lil Durk been going crazy, you know what I mean? He's been going crazy on everything he touches, and it's bringing a lot of attention. Everything he touches is bringing a lot of attention. But Pooh Shiesty's another rapper out of Memphis, and there's a couple rappers out of Memphis that have been making waves in these past couple of years. So he's kind of just the next one. And yeah, man, he's just kind of bubbling up in the streets right now, bro. He's just kind of bubbling up in the streets. And I gotta keep it 100. Like, I only really know this record because I've been spending more time at the studio with my friends who listen to more of this type of music. You know what I mean? Like, I will always confess, like, I'm not a trap dude, a street dude, and so I'm also not listening to that kind of music all the time. You feel me? But eventually, I think no matter what genre or style it is, like, good music is kind of good music. And I think even after the initial like resistance to it that I even had, I eventually heard it and I was like, oh, I get it now. Because the chorus to me was catchy. The bars, you know, his real deep voice, like, you know, all of that is really catchy. And then Durk's verse kind of went off. So it is getting real hot right now. You know, it's kind of buzzing up. And I think Pooh Shiesty's kind of on that cusp of crossing over to mainstream. So I think this is a real good record for you to review, and I wanted to hear your feel on it because it is hot right now. It has a buzz, but I think it's going to be even more interesting when I think a couple months down the line, you know, there's a potential that he becomes like a regular name that we consistently talk about. So I'd love to get, you know, the take that you have at this point, at this juncture.
So after listening to this record a bunch of times and listening to all your songs a bunch of times, I can't get into this one, man. It's not for me. It's not for me, man. I can't do it. And I tried. I really did. It's just not my cup of tea. There's nothing horrendous about this song. I'll just put it this way. Like, I can't sit here and bash it because I don't hate the song. You know what I mean? It's not one of those things I was like, oh my God, my ear. You know what I mean? I just didn't find it that enamoring or intriguing, really. Like, I think he has this kind of like Pooh Shiesty does, has this kind of like almost like too cool for school tone, no pun intended, but and delivery that it's slick sounding, but I almost feel like it's uninspired and it doesn't just do much for me as a listener. It's just not my typical subgenre of hip hop, and I do like some trap. I don't hate trap music by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not that. This just doesn't do it for me. And then the one thing though that drives me up a wall about this song is the piano sample. Because it literally sounds like do re mi fa sol la ti. If you've ever heard that, like it literally has that like cadence to it, and I was like what? Like, it's so it's so basic. So that's why I don't like it. And there's a lot of things about this that just feel I don't know, man.
It's just so basic.
It's just basic.
I just don't like it.
It's not for me. It's not. This
Yo,
song is not made
clip
for me.
this for Instagram. Clip this, Mike, Sam, whoever. Clip this now, because I need to see on Instagram. It's just so basic. I don't like it.
It is. It's just, listen, bro. Listen to that piano sample on here, and then tell me. And then go listen to go YouTube like do re mi. I guarantee you'll be like, okay, I get it. Like I don't really care for this. Again, I don't hate it. It's not like I'm not passionately like against this song. Like if you like this, like more power to you. Like it's not one of those things where it's like I hear like a 6ix9ine song and I'm ready to like I want to like hate it so freaking much, right?
Yeah,
like it's not even in that realm for me. You know, so this isn't a bad song. It's just not what I typically enjoy. And I know we have another song later on with Lil Durk on Wednesday's episode, or this part 2 of this. And I don't find Lil Durk as impressive. It's done not to spoil it. I don't want to get too much into that song, but I found Lil Durk to be very impressive on that song. This one I don't find him to be as impressive on. I just it's typical of what I would expect him to sound like, but also like and on the other breath too, I've heard him in different facets. Like I've heard him on, like I really liked his song on the Wale Wow That's Crazy album from 2019, and he was really good on Bia's Same Hands song. So like, and the song that we're gonna talk about, like I said on the part 2 of this episode. But yeah, overall, man, I don't have as much to say about this one. It's just, it's just okay. It's basic.
I think it's so funny. I think it's so funny, and I suggested this to you, and me and Mike talked, over phone, where I was just like, I'm excited to hear what you think, because I know it's not really your thing, you know what I mean? And but I also know so many people whose this is their thing, you know what I mean? And even me, myself, I think we should definitely, or both of us, we should acknowledge that, a lot of this stuff doesn't resonate, because I think it's not super relatable for guys like us, you know what I mean? Like I'm by no means trying to front, but then I obviously there's to counter that, it's like music is music. Good music can kind of be appreciated by anybody who's open-minded enough to hear it. And I think with me, initially hearing it, I'm hearing my friends play it, I'm like not really excited about it at all. And then I gave myself a couple more listens, and then the flow just started getting more and more catchy. And then here's what I think, what you were kind of pointing out as to why you don't like it is like, it's very accurate in terms of like, that's going to be the determining factor for certain people, is like that laid back, kind of slick, kind of too cool for school is the way you say, and other people call it swag, other people call it drippy, it's like, I think that kind of swagger though is what, it's like hit or miss for somebody. It's like either like it comes off as like too nonchalant and uninspired, or to other people it comes off as confident and braggadocious, and it comes off as it almost even tough, especially when you're putting it together with the lyrics they're talking about. And I do think a big part of people who enjoy trap music who can't necessarily relate to it, I think the other part is like, like some people just like the feeling you get when you hear some bars that are real street grimy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you can believe it, and this is another big part, it's like when you believe the artist themselves, right? And I think that's also why Pooh Shiesty's getting a lot of the attention that he's getting, is because he's making these kind of nonchalant, cool trap street records, and then he also has a certain image that people are buying into and believe. And so if you don't even necessarily, and that's why like the visuals can be a big part of this, right? Like if you don't necessarily can't put a face to it, or can't really believe what these people are saying outright, then I think you listen to the song differently. And then on the other side of like, if you fully are believing and buying into the image and are and can relate to the image, then I think the song comes off, very, very differently. But I gotta say, for me personally, I think the more and more I listened to it, I thought the melody and just like the chorus I think it's a banger. I think the chorus is kind of a banger. Don't need security, got my own fire in the club. Beefing on the net. I thought you was a thug.
You bring up some valid points, and I see your angle for sure, and I think the point you made about it sounding confident, that's valid. I totally agree, and that's why I'm not here to necessarily bash it like it's a bad song. I just feel like I've heard this before. It's not really like super. Again, it's for me, it's a little uninspired, but. Again, it's not a bad song. If people like this song, more power to them. It's just not going to be something that I'm going to replay.
You should say you hate it. That way we can be clickbaity and get a whole lot of people in our comments really upset. You know what I mean? Because I think that's the way content goes, right? Like we want to be as polarizing as possible. So
one phrase from Taylor Swift's Folklore album has gotten me a lot of hate on YouTube. So
Mike's getting heat.
I'm getting heat.
Where the Pooh Shiesty stands at? I'm trying to hear them eat you up.
Yeah, is that what you want? Do you want me to say I hate Pooh Shiesty? Because it wouldn't
clip
even make sense.
Clip it. Clip it.
The caption: Turntable Teacher's host hates Pooh Shiesty.
Yeah. Nah, dude,
not even close to
what I honestly, I love having. I think part of the dope part about music conversations and other people can be honest about, like, it doesn't hit for me.
Exactly. It's all subjectivity. So I mean, that can be. So we'll see. I'm sure that's why I'm glad we again disagree on certain things. It's not good to obviously just be like, oh yeah, it's sick. Like that doesn't open like the discourse for this type of stuff. But completely different segue here, different direction, different kind of song. My next one is Arlo Parks' "Hurt." So this is one of her singles off her latest project that just released not too long ago called "Collapsed in Sunbeams." And I think you had mentioned too that a deluxe just came out for this one as well.
Yep. A deluxe version of this, that the project that this song is on, a deluxe version just released, and I should give you the whole name of it.
"Collapsed in Sunbeams." That's what
Collapsed in Sunbeams. Yeah, deluxe version just dropped January 29th. So not super recently, but about a month ago. And
a little less than a month ago. Well, the project itself, I absolutely love. I know we're not going to talk fully about the project, and so if anyone is interested and likes this song, I totally suggest going to listen to the album. But I think it's one of the more introspective and like thought-provoking songs that we have in this listing. And then just overall, I think the mix of sounds with just how groovy it is with the sax, and I love the drums and the guitar chords. I think it all just blends super nicely, and I love her vocals, man. Her voice is one of like my favorites that I've come on to in the last, I'd say, a couple months, where I wasn't really too familiar with Arlo Parks before this, and this song really got me as like my introduction to her. And then when I heard "Collapse in Sunbeams" full-fledged, I just infatuated with her sound and just her energy and everything like that. So I really love this song. I think even just the thematic aspect of it, just kind of like, it's almost like the opposite of living in the moment. You know what I mean? Like she's more or less talking about like, look to the future. Like, don't let this, like whatever is happening to you, or like the negative, emotions that you're having, like, don't let it weigh you down. I love the line where she says like, wouldn't it be lovely to feel something for once? And I think that it's a song that people need to hear. And I love the sentiments overall. So this is, again, a huge highlight for me coming out of the gate in early 2021. I thought this Arlo Parks "Hurt" record is just phenomenal, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too. What do you think of it?
Yeah, so out of our whole pool of songs, this is the one song that I already knew and the one song that I already had saved. And then when I'm searching it to listen to it for this episode, and I saw I already had it saved, but I didn't necessarily remember the title. I remembered the name. 'Cause the name Arlo Parks is just very unique. But as soon as it came back on, I was like, oh, I remember this. Because this is one of those songs that I like just put on like an R&B radio real quick, and it came up, and like I instantly saved. And I think what really caught me is, like you said, that one line you highlighted already is, wouldn't it be lovely to feel something? And then the whole song has multiple lines, like, wouldn't it be lovely to feel worth something? And it always kind of has like a little adjustment to it. But I think the lyricism in this song, like the songwriting in this song is ridiculous. You know, he's talking about alcoholism and using this character Charlie, and I don't know if that's a real person she knows or if that's a reference to some other kind of character, but it's this character dealing with, vices, alcoholism. There's a lot of that kind of imagery, and the recurring line, I guess you could call it the chorus, but it doesn't sound like it has quite a chorus, right? It's just that one catchy line that stands out. Wouldn't it be lovely to feel something for once?
Yeah.
I think that's when I heard. That's when I hit the add to library button, and it was just like, just because that's such a, even though it's plain language, but I think that's what makes it resonate. Where it's like, ooh, like this song is also. It stands in contrast to like how beautiful and lovely the song sounds, and then she just says like really softly, "Wouldn't it be nice to?" Like, you know what I mean? It's like, wouldn't it be nice to feel something for once? And it's like, whew, like that's deep. And then the more and more I started reading the lyrics and going into it, it's like, whoa, like she's talking about a lot of dark stuff here, which I loved even more. You know what I mean?
Right.
And kind of contributed to my enjoyment. A lot, honestly, because I love that when kind of the R&B singer, kind of, I think Brent Faiyaz gets into that bag a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Says something incredibly dark, but with like very, very lovely vocals, you know what I mean?
And the lovely aesthetic over it too, right?
Yeah,
just the song itself.
Beautiful aesthetic. And with her having a soft female vocal, I think it all came off, I don't know, very authentic, very, just for lack of better words, deep. And I really enjoyed it. So like, yeah, I don't even have too much to say besides like, I liked this song a lot. And I will comment on, something you took earlier. You kind of took all my points, Mike. You had a really good analysis right there, but, she has such an amazing, unique voice. Like, I think her voice, it gives me like I think like in the like late 90s, early 2000s, like there's a lot of R&B artists that have very, very unique voices. Mm-hmm. And I think right now there's not as many of those. There's kind of like a certain sound that's dominating R&B. But I think she has a certain texture to her voice that's, distinct and unique and just different. So I'm totally going to be, keeping up with her. And I'm probably going to have to go back to that whole Collapsed Sunbeams album. Because like I said, I had known this song already just as the single. And on my Apple Music, it says Hurt, the single, came out in 2020. So I'm assuming the album followed it later. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to have to go back and listen to the whole project because I was feeling this song heavy. And that's why, I even pat Mike on the back. Messed up my words there. Can even pat Mike on the back because I'm like, you got good taste. You got good taste, and I got good taste. So I was vibing with the song a lot, and honestly, it's good that you reminded me of it because it was kind of one of those ones I added, one off from a radio station and forgot about. But those lines, wouldn't it be nice to feel something, followed by those verses about, just drinking. And it's somebody clearly, I think, hurting themselves, right? And I think the theme is just like, I do this because I'm just trying to feel something. Exactly. And I think that it's not like nobody's ever said that, but it's always it's always special when somebody finds their own spin on these kind of topics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I just love how too, like, she kind of works in like spoken word and things like that. It makes it feel like it's a back and forth with the listener. Like, it's very engaging, and that I think is what I love most about it. And of course, I'm a huge sucker for any saxophone samples or even sounds live instrumentation a little bit. So. I was a huge fan of this song like right away, and haven't stopped listening to it since I came onto it. And as you mentioned, definitely, and those that are listening, definitely check out this album. It is really, really good, especially if you like this sort of blend of indie pop and like soulful jazz. So I highly, highly recommend it. Collapsed in Sunbeams by Arlo Parks, and this song Hurt is one of my favorites that I've heard in 2021. Even if this did come out like tail end of 2020. It's on the album from 2021, so but anyway,
she killed that, and also quite the title, Collapsed into Sunbeams. Like, that is
There's some really good songs on this project, man. Like
Yeah.
some even that I might like even better than this one. But
Moving on to our next record. This one, I'll be really shocked if you don't like this one, because I thought this was like totally in Mike's bag.
new headline: Mike hates Westside Boogie and Joey.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like that's what we do for views around here. Got to keep the lights on somehow, and antagonizing people, that'll pay the bills. But Westside Boogie, Joey Badass. This is a big single that I actually saw Westside. That I saw Boogie pushing pretty prevalently, so I think he has a lot of faith in this single too. And he's actually been putting out a lot of music. I after hearing this, I'm a big fan of Boogie. I went back and listened to a lot of his other stuff, and he has new stuff that's coming out. But Westside Boogie and Joey Badass, Outside, is what I had Mike listen to next. So, Mr. Scarfo, how you feeling?
So here's the thing. When I first heard Boogie, very, very much into his stuff. The record that I first heard him was, of course, the Everything's for Sale album from 2019. That went huge and had that horrible Eminem feature on it. That'll be someone will bash me about that. Like that was not Eminem's worst. It wasn't as bad as Relapse. Anyway, I love that project. I thought it showed a lot of versatility from him. And I really liked his name change too, because I know people confuse him with A Boogie with the hoodie. Yeah. Right. So I'm glad he's now Westside Boogie, and he just recently actually was on Bars on I-95, which is
and he snapped.
He snapped, and he had a really good interview as well. The interview was really great too. So of course that's like that portion. Yeah, there's an interview portion along with the freestyle. So of course they're like a New England platform. They're out of Connecticut. So I know we don't know anybody over there, but shout out to them. I like. No,
let's act like we do. Yeah. Shout out to our friends over there at Bars on I-95. Those guys always do good work. Whenever I'm there, it's always a good time. I love those dudes.
Maybe if they hear it, maybe we can get acquainted with them. But either way, no, I'm only kidding. But no, great job to them. They're doing a phenomenal job with their platform. But I'll put it this way. All right, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. I don't dislike this song by any stretch. It's just not my favorite that they've done. I definitely enjoy it. I think it's very smooth, and there's a lot of great aspects to this song. But again, it's just not my favorite that I've heard from either one of them. But it's interesting because I very much enjoy the light and like fluttery vibe that this song has in the instrumental, and I think they both spit very like passionate flows, and they have great performances. But Joey Badass's verse, it's very run of the mill for me in terms of his lyricism. I didn't think there was anything on it that like was very like super ear grabbing, and even so much from Boogie until the very last verse when he says, if I break these mental walls, then I get through to my brain. If I keep smoking this tree, I find the root of my pain. Shit if I make it through the flame with no burnt skin while I'm standing in the ash. No, I earned this.
Holy crap,
dude, like that blew my mind. And I
don't think I caught that. Like that.
It's the very end of his second verse.
I don't think I caught that earned wordplay.
Yeah,
earned.
Yeah, it's wild, dude. Like his bars on the second half of the song are so impressive.
Crazy.
He goes crazy, yeah. But it's a good song. It's a good song. The replayability for me, I don't know where it's gonna sit. I'm not saying I'll never listen to this again, but it's not like, maybe I just needed it to grow on me a little bit more. Maybe like the settings I've been listening to it, because this is a song, again, when you sent me your list, this was the only song from the listing that I had also heard prior. So I had heard it before. And I remember when I first listened to it, I was like, it's okay. It's not great. It's not horrible. It's definitely not like my favorite from them. It's good. But I didn't really listen to it again until you put me back onto it. And then I listened to it again a few more times, of course, in preparation for this episode. And I was waiting for it to click, and it just never did. So I don't have much more to say past that. I thought, again, Boogie's end of his lyricism on this song is ridiculous. Absolutely love it. But Joey doesn't do a ton for me other than giving me like a pretty solid verse, but it's, again, lyrically, it's very run of the mill for me. So there were bars that seemed very, dare I say, again, with going back to Pooh, Shiesty, dare I say, they were basic for Joey. I really thought it was more of like a, hey, yeah, you need a verse. I got this one lying around. Here you go. So that's how it felt to me. But again, I could be wrong. I could be looking at this in a much different lens than some other people. But yeah, no, not shitting on it at all though. Like I definitely like this much more than the Pooh Shiesty record. Put it that way. If I was to rank yours, you know, it's above Pooh Shiesty. So put it that way.
Well, I think that's funny you say that because about like the Joey Badass feature, because I think reading it on paper, I was definitely very, very excited to have Joey Badass and Boogie on the track, and with the kind of track it was too, kind of this boom bappy, nice little jazzy dum 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 dum, like little hook. Like I thought, oh, you know, Joey's gonna go crazy on this, and I thought maybe it'd be another case of like the feature stealing the show. But I was also, I'll say, I can agree that I think Joey Badass maybe under-delivered or was a little underwhelming or kind of called it in bare minimum kind of thing, because it's not a bad verse, and I don't know if Joey's ever been able to write a bad verse, you know what I mean? But I think especially paired with Boogie, who's lyrically I think one of the best doing it right now, and Joey Badass already has that kind of acclaim as, you know, a lyrical beast. Like I was just looking, I thought there would be a lot more of a back and forth, and then it almost makes me feel like that's what Boogie wanted as well. Like I think I'd be like curious to know if he felt disappointed by the verse, because like as he comes in for his second verse, right, you know, and he kind of steps up that wordplay. You pointed out some wordplay I didn't even catch towards the end, but what I was gonna point out from that second verse is when he starts going, you know, he kind of emulates the little like Kendrick flow. I'm the best rapper alive. I'm the best rapper alive. I'm the best. And he goes, wait, you know what I mean? And then he switches it up. And then the bars that are following it, I mean, like, if he's not the best rapper alive, he's at least as confident as the best rapper alive.
Which you have to be at that point.
Exactly, definitely. And that's within the sport. That's how you should carry yourself. I'm the best rapper of that. Wait, I'm the best rapper alive. I'm talking niggas that's in it. I'm talking niggas retired. I'm talking niggas that's coming. I'm talking niggas that tried. I'm talking niggas that died. I'm talking all of them combined. You know what I mean? And trigger warning.
He snaps on that second verse.
I had to put the N-word there because I had to, you know, just be authentic to me. You feel me? I had to be authentic to me in reading these lyrics. I don't think it would have hit if I would have said dude. You know what I mean? Because I was gonna swap it out there. But he said, I'm talking people that are in it. I'm talking dudes that are retired. I'm talking about the dudes that are coming. I'm talking about the dudes who tried. I'm talking about the dudes who died. I'm talking about all of them combined. I'm the best rapper alive. And I was like, and I think that was set up, right? Like, I feel like that was supposed to follow a heavy, heavy Joey Badass verse where, like, you almost might have thought, like, whoa, Joey's going to kind of, you know, he's maybe taking away the light. And then Boogie follows up with that third verse. I think that would have made this track ridiculous. You know what I mean? In terms of wordplay. But I can agree with you. Joey's performance was underwhelming.
That's probably the best word for it, to be honest, is underwhelming.
Yeah, I really liked the chorus to this a lot, and I think Boogie's wordplay on this is like what kept me coming back to this thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think Boogie, honestly, also, it might be one of the better, like, even though I don't think his voice is particularly perfect for choruses, but I think he writes, like, his songwriting and his lyrical abilities, like, beautiful, and he can catch a melody in like so many different pockets.
Yeah, well, just, I mean, look at any song from Everything's for Sale, and you'll hear that, right? I mean, he has so many of those kinds of songs where he can play with certain melodies and they get very creative with those melodies. So
they get creative, and they get profound. They get even like soft at times. You know what I mean? And I think that's what I like about Boogie a lot is like it's like he's a rapper. Like, you know what I mean? Like he has bars for days, but he can do
the melodic thing.
Yeah, but his musicality is there to where he can do a melodic thing that like, and even into like in combination with like his soft kind of voice, like it just can be really, really beautiful sounding music and melodies sometimes.
Absolutely.
You know? I think Boogie, I hope he has a big 2021.
I think it sounds like he's going to, if he's going on a bit of like a press tour, right? So like doing some.
I think he's definitely gearing up for.
Oh, he's easily gearing up. I think the single was part of that as well. And I agree with you. I think the hook is excellent. If you're okay to move on, speaking of good hooks, I wanted to talk about
course.
my last song from this section of our new singles recap, and I got Freddie Gibbs and ScHoolboy Q with Gang Signs, and my goodness gracious on this song, I was absolutely stunned how this song came out in terms of like how it sounded, because when I think Freddie Gibbs and ScHoolboy on a track, I did not think we were gonna get this. So I'm very curious. I did not at all. Like the way it's ended up coming together and sounding, thought we were gonna get this like gritty, dark, hardcore, like like type of song, and it was anything but that. I felt like so. But I was curious to hear your thoughts on Gang Signs. What did you think before I get into how I feel?
Yeah. Well, I love the song. I love Freddie Gibbs. Freddie Gibbs has been one of my favorite rappers. Definitely one of my favorite rappers in 2020. And is still, carrying on like a sick, like hot streak. I think he hasn't missed in a while. Even though I was kind of so on his single Big Sean.
Yeah, that one was okay.
But it was cool to even hear Freddie in that zone because it's so different from what he was doing before. And I'll say this, I expected to like this song. I did. As in I did like it, so I wasn't wrong with that. I guess you bring up a good point. I guess on paper, a Freddie Gibbs and ScHoolboy Q song would be way darker, for sure. Like, I would assume it to be way darker. But I wasn't... but, like, when I heard the song, I wasn't necessarily surprised that that's how it was sounding, because it sounded kind of in Freddie's bag to me, and then
it
just gets the ScHoolboy feature. So maybe it wasn't necessarily, like, kind of like the collide of two worlds that they could have made. But ScHoolboy showed out. He delivered. He showed up. And the honestly, like the whole like fuck 12, suck a dick, fuck 12, like the repetition of that, and I think like that kind of what reinforces this song as a little bit more lighthearted for them. But it's like you still listen to the freaking lyrics, and they're talking about I wake up in the morning and I throw a gang sign, like what I mean. Like I think that on paper that matches the energy you'd think both ScHoolboy Q and Freddie would have. But the song was a little bit more upbeat and lighthearted than like maybe I'd think they'd go for. But I thought they both did it really well, and I think Freddie, honestly, dude, Freddie's hooks are fire. Like,
that's what I was saying, bro.
Are fire.
Shit.
And he like his chorus on the Benny the Butcher track that he had was sick. He had I don't know. He just has a bunch of dope things, and like I think you wouldn't think about him like that because he's so wordy and so grimy and street, but his hooks, dude, are like, and his flows like are, I don't know, just on point. He has so much control of like whether it's fast or slow, and like even despite his guttural like deep voice, like what I mean. Like I think it's sometimes hard to get rappers to sound on like what I mean, kind of sound past their voice, if that makes any sense. To get past that kind of like you not just looking at the song in one certain way because of how like the reaction from their voice you just get initially, but like it just doesn't matter. Like and I think even with the the F12 suck a dick line, like I think that it's also just goes to show like if you followed Freddie Gibbs on any social media, like he's a clown, you know what I mean, and he has a good sense of humor, and then when he throws those kind of funny lines in there, it totally makes you forget that like this is also a guy who this is cocaine season, half man, half cocaine. Like so I just the versatility's there, and I'll say like ScHoolboy's verse. I don't have a lot of lines of his that stick out, but except actually I did love this one. Way too crip to go live. You take one, we take 9. Like that was kind of fire. You know what I mean? And it had me like thinking on like rap bars to myself. I was like, oh, that like Instagram live. He's I thought that was dope. But yeah, man, all around a very, very solid track. And I didn't even hear about this, so I was glad you put this on my radar.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of ScHoolboy, like to go off your point, I really love his. I think the lyricism, it's not super like memorable, but it's very tongue in cheek. So, and I think it works to the playfulness of this song, right? Like, and kind of just the brash, like not really giving a fuck. I feel like I really enjoy that aspect of this song. And his delivery was definitely animated, and I love like his flow switches and all of that he put into this track. And yeah, I mean, you hit a lot of the points that I had too. I mean, Freddie's just always in his pocket, man, on hooks. Like, especially now, like it's become masterful at this point what he can do with a melody, and like but sounding how he does, it just doesn't seem like it should make sense, but in fact it does.
But he has the skill to make it make sense somehow. That's where it's the way he's able. I agree. Like, it's
masterful. The way he's able to catch up with the beat on that double time like delivery on the flow of the hook. It's crazy. It's that's so hard to do. Like, people don't think. I mean, you're a rapper yourself and a hip hop artist. You understand, but like, it's so difficult to pull off what he's pulling off and how he does it. And yeah,
even
overall,
then with like the lyricism behind it, you know what I mean? Because it's like one thing to be able to have that musicality and say those and get those pockets in those melodies, and then it's another thing to still be saying something, right? And I think that's what like the ideal rapper can do, and that's what the ideal rapper kind of excels at, is being able to keep the lyricism or songwriting intact of the song while still keeping it entertaining, sonically.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm such a huge fan of this song. I think that even though I'm not like, and I will say this, like, I'm not disappointed necessarily. Actually, kind of the opposite, believe it or not, because I actually really enjoy the contrast of the dark sort of like tones in the vocals, but the lighthearted, upbeat like aspect of the instrumental. So in a way, I'm almost pleasantly surprised rather than disappointed. Because when I first saw Freddie and ScHoolboy, I was thinking, oh man, it's gonna be a dark, gritty banger. But it ended up being completely opposite of that, and
that's funny. It's funny that
I'm okay with it.
Jump to that conclusion as well. That's just a good point. Like, could you imagine waking up in the morning and throwing a gang sign? Like, the first thing you do, like, that's so gangster, bro. That's just sick. That's so sick. And then again, not the life. Keep ranting on this, no. Like the constant like repetition of like fuck 12 suck a dick, fuck 12 suck a dick. It's just.
Not certainly the life I live or either of us live, but
right.
Yeah, definitely.
But man, that hit.
It hits hard, man. It's a great track. So Freddie Gibbs and ScHoolboy Q, Gang Signs, definitely one of my favorite songs of 2021 so far. But yeah, man, this was our new singles recap for part 1. We got a part 2 coming later on this week with 6 other songs that we're going to talk about, another half a dozen. So make sure you tune back in for that. And drop us a comment, right? I mean, let us know.
Talk to us, man. Talk to us.
Please do. Even if you hate it, right? We got, like I said, got a lot of hate from my Taylor Swift Grammys feedback that I had, right? So if you disagree with any of our takes on these songs, we would love to hear it. I mean, try to keep it respectful, right? Don't completely shit on us, but like, if you we'd just love to hear from you, if and anything, we could take it. Not like
we can take it. Hey, Mike took the heat last week or a couple weeks ago with the Taylor Swift joint. I'm here to take the heat. Tell me, I'm here endorsing Pooh Shiesty. Who's out there, huh? Do I got the Shiesty fans or am I bugging? Somebody talk to me and direct it all at me, because I would be curious. Smoke.
Yeah. Again, it's nothing to do with me here. That's all this man. But,
right.
Yeah. Anyway,
but Mike hates Pooh Shiesty.
Yo, you're gonna get me like in trouble, man. I swear to God.
You gotta watch out, bro.
I gotta watch out. I gotta watch my back at this point. Oh man, too funny. But we will be back with more new singles recaps. So make sure you guys tune back in for our part 2 with, again, 6 more songs, and we won't tease those. We'll leave you guys to think about what those might be. But yeah. Make sure you guys tune in to all of our socials at Turntable Teachers. Follow us on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Not that I'm big on that, but we are on that. And, of course, on YouTube or podcast streaming service, wherever you are listening to, please make sure you smash that subscribe button. Really helps us out and supports the podcast and the show. And like I said, drop us a comment and let us know. But, yeah, until next time, and we'll be back with more new singles. But until then, I am Mike.
I'm Phoenix.
We're the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.
Turntable teachers. turn, 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 turn.